As players, we all dream about playing at the highest level, spending thousands of hours on our craft, early morning workouts, long nights dreaming about which college we'll play at, playing in the NCAA tournament. There weren't many goals outside of that. But for me, I knew my parents weren't about to pay for anything. I was going to be the star freshman wherever I went, make a few plays, shoot a few threes, end up in the NBA. And somewhere down the line, I'd finish up coaching. The only thing was I didn't plan for any hiccups. I damn sure didn't know how I was going to accomplish all these goals, and I barely even knew anyone who accomplished one. But that's where Jackie Manuel came in. This is Jackie Manuel, current assistant coach at UNCW. He's significantly important to me and my story, not because he is my current coach, because he has also accomplished every goal I previously aspired to obtain, and then some. Coaching is defined as a form of development from a person who trains athletes or a team of athletes. But after spending large chunks of my days in gyms with Coach Manuel, I learned he is much more than his job title precedes. He's also an extremely loving father who enjoys spending time with his children, a husband, mentor, and spiritual advisor. But overall, he's just a pretty cool dude. It didn't take me long to learn these things about Coach Manuel. But the thing I wondered was, had he always been this way?
Just keep it on the sideline, no middle. If it's not in the sideline, contain the basketball. Good big.
So naturally, I seek out the people who knew him early on in his career. What were some of those qualities that you found to be appealing as a coach?
Yeah, well, I mean, he worked hard every day. Best wing, right. And in the ACC, there's a lot of pretty talented wings. And so we depend on Jackie for that. We depend on Jackie for the hustle, to run the court. We really wanted to push the ball faster than they had in the past, and he always ran the court, offensively and to defense. And those are the things that were really good. Just he was always the example that coach could use. And sometimes in transition, there's so much that people are learning, you don't have an example.
Right.
And so it was huge to always be able, for us as a staff, to use Jackie as an example of how we sort of want things done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the guys hammered him and, called him coach's son and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it was huge for Jackie, but it definitely gave him the confidence to know that he was going to get on the floor and he was going to play.
Yeah.
I think he was just the calming factor because, he just took care of his own business.
Mm-hmm.
You never had to worry about him. I think that there were different groups, and there were some that were really strong personalities, and some followers, and some other leaders that were strong personalities. So a lot of people butted heads, and my guess is in the locker room, Jack, you just sort of try to juggle all that and try and keep it smooth so that when it got on the court, they could all play together, not carry the stuff from the locker room over or off the court stuff, because it was not the most functional family for the first year, for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt. No, he always has great character. Ever since I've been thinking about the opportunity of being a head coach, depending on whatever level I got a job, I always thought I would ask Jackie if he would come work for me. Now, if he was an assistant at North Carolina at the time, he wouldn't come work for me.
Right.
And he was assistant at Valpo, and I really lucked out because I knew that obviously he's not too far removed to forget about what it was like to be a player and to go through everything. They went through everything.
Yeah.
Like ups, downs, pressure, not living up to expectations of themselves or their team. And then win a national championship. So, there's not a thing he didn't experience in college that anybody on our team he could relate to.
Right.
Now, they can come to him with anything. He'd be like, yeah, well, I remember, when this happened. It's not like it was just straight uphill the whole time.
Right.
And so he knows the game.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he has great IQ because he was always in the right place at the right time. And, and usually those guys have a great IQ of what to do. You don't necessarily worry about the X's and O's as much, I don't think, with an assistant. And obviously, I think relating to, young players, whether they're African-American or Caucasian. Jackie can relate to anybody. And so I thought he has all those strengths, and I thought he'd be great. Obviously, he's done a great job, and, it's not easy to get your foot in the door. And keep your foot in the door in this business. And he's done a great job.
Yeah.
there's other guys that have played
Mm-hmm.
for me, whether it's at Carolina or even here, that like every day is a job interview.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's on the court or not. You know, are they in the class? Do you have to worry about them off the court? You know, are they getting along with their teammates?
Yeah.
You know, are they taking coaching? So all those things, like you got a list of guys like, oh yeah, you know, depending on what job I get, you know, I know he knows what I want to implement.
Right.
I know that I can trust him.
Yeah.
And you know, the trust thing and the loyalty thing are more important than ever in college basketball these days, because your assistant that you might not know, that they say can get you players, they might be doing it in a fishy way, and I can lose my job.
Right. So it wasn't just an act. The things that I saw on a daily basis were just a part of who he had been for years. Being the example, working hard, relatability, and the gift of getting the most out of the people who were around him.
The first time I seen Jackie in a gym setting, I was up at UNCG, just visiting my friends. And he was, I walked in the gym, he was working the kid out, and pretty intense. A normal Jackie workout. So
Yeah.
my impression of him was, he wants to get kids better. And I knew his resume, so I felt like he'd been there. So my impression was.
So you knew you wanted to get kids better. Did you feel that? Did you learn that through like just seeing him work, or was it more like an interaction with him, like through speaking with him?
Initially it was just seeing that right there. It was just seeing him work a kid out. It was kind of more up front, but later when I was talking to him, I met him personally. After just talking to him for a few minutes, I knew what he was about. One of my favorite coaches that had recruited me, so when I found out he was coming, I was super excited. Especially knowing him personally. I felt like we were on a level of kind of friends at that point. I look at him as a good friend.
Yeah, like an older brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
The bond just got better, of course, through time, and everything I pretty much thought of him stayed the same.
Yeah.
Hard-working dude, knew what he was talking about, been there. Relatability is the biggest. Proof in the pudding. He's been there, so, and he understands from a player standpoint. Not a lot of coaches can understand from a player standpoint. Just being in certain situations, maybe another coach couldn't understand you, but he could be like, okay, I see what you're saying. I've been there. Let's do it this way. Or I see what you're saying. I was wrong at that point. I was thinking that at that point in time of my career. But I'll tell you how I feel from what I'm thinking now, because I'm
right. But this was just on the basketball court. And anyone who knows Coach Manuel knows the only thing that means more than his basketball family is his real family. And after just hanging around his family for a few hours, I learned that the more his family grew, the more he grew. And the more he grew, the qualities that we saw every day on the basketball court grew. What are the ages? How old are you? I'm going to guess 9.
9-ish-y?
9-ish-y?
9.5-ish?
When, I guess
Four
you can clear that up.
You 4.5?
4.5-ish-y.
4.5-ish-y?
4.5-ish-y, 9.5-ish-y. Okay. And Jordan is issue.
7 months ishy.
7 months
Say
ishy.
7 months ishy.
Hey.
Say
Yeah.
7 months ishy.
That's cool.
So we met our sophomore year, and I actually came to Carolina on an Air Force ROTC scholarship.
Okay.
So I was in ROTC at the time, and I was in my pretty much uniform one day and walking across the part of campus that we call the pit, where everybody hangs out throughout the day. And he approached me and was like, yeah, I see you, G.I. Jane. Where you about to go to war? I see you going to war, G.I. Jane.
That
and
sounds
just,
like him.
Exactly. Just continued to pick on me about being in uniform. And at this time, I was not giving him the time of day. Just laughed it off and walked away. And, we eventually happened to meet up several times throughout the next couple of weeks at the same spot in the pit. And just always cracking jokes. If you know him, you know that he's a jokester. The group that he was with was always jokesters. And so I really started to love his sense of humor. Every time I saw him, he made me laugh. And so eventually those jokes evolved into a friendship. And we started hanging out. And that's how our relationship began. I could tell that he was a hard worker, obviously. I was kind of a basketball fan. Like, I went to the games, but I wasn't really, like, into it. And so I'd seen him play before, and I knew that he was a hard worker just by how aggressive he was, always sliding across the court, trying to save a ball, always playing good, strong defense. And so I definitely liked that he was a hard worker. He was pretty much, out of the Jackie Jawad and Melvin crew, he was the nice guy in the group. Okay. So he used that nice guy charm, though, to get the girls, I later learned. Yeah. So that was kind of his thing. He was really nice. Like, he went up and talked to anybody. He was very sociable, and always willing to help. So if there was somebody that needed anything on campus, he would be that guy that would be willing to help them. So I really liked that he was a hard worker, his sense of humor, and that he was a really nice guy. You could tell came from a great upbringing and had manners and was always very respectful. So that's cool. Those were things that attracted me to him. Yeah. I will say the one thing that I initially knew that, okay, he's the real deal is at the end of the year, of course, teams have an athletic banquet. And so at their athletic banquets, if you don't know, I love to eat, love sweets. But he brought me his dessert from the athletic banquet that night because it was at a restaurant that I really liked, and it was like a chocolate chip cookie dough sundae. And so he brought that to my dorm room after the banquet, and that really just like won me over because it was something that I loved. He had listened when I talked about how much I love desserts and sweets, and so that was one thing that really stands out for when I was like kind of like light bulb on. He's a keeper. So I definitely think his sense of humor, of course, is still there. I think some of the deeper qualities of who he is as a person in the core have really been enhanced over time. I think the journey that we've been through, whether it's through playing, through coaching, and just through our family dynamic, getting us to where we are today, has really helped, enhance who he is as a person. So the kind, gentle spirit that I saw early on in our relationship has just, tenfold. Like, my heart bursts when I see him as a father, when I see him as a husband, when I have him as a husband, and also seeing him as a coach. Yeah. I get so proud of him just watching a game, practice, watching games, watching him watch film of you guys to see how he can really make you guys better, because that's something that's so important to him. And so I am envious every time I think about how he has found his true passion and is able to like really use it and makes him a better person while he's also making other people a better person as better people. But I just, each and every day that I see him with our girls, teaching them what they should be treated like by men, teaching them what to look for when they get older one day, and also being a role model for Jordan already in the first couple of months of his life.
Coach Manuel is becoming more and more dynamic, a family man, players coach, and arguably most important, a man of faith.
Prayer. Yes.
Okay, so that's a big part of y'all's relationship, obviously.
Absolutely. And I will say, and Jackie will tell anybody this too, like, I was a church girl, like, went to church every Sunday, rain or shine, no question. Like, you had to be really ill in my house not to go to church every Sunday. And so Jackie didn't come from that environment where that was what he was used to. And so as from the very beginning of our relationship, he actually got baptized the day before we got married because he had given his life to Christ, and that was something that we wanted to take forward in our relationship. So, at the time we started dating, like, he wasn't comfortable with praying a lot, praying out loud. He probably prayed, to himself, but he wasn't comfortable praying out loud. And so I would be the one that would kind of lead prayers for our relationship, to send him scriptures for motivation, different types of books about playing, pursuing your dreams, books about your Christian walk, that just, I think, helped him along the way. Yeah. And now it's amazing to look back almost, 13 years ago when we first got married, to him being kind of the head of our household and also in our Christian walk. He's the one that prays for our family now. He's the one that provides me with scriptures and, has me reading different verses when I get, low in my walk with God as well. So I definitely think the spiritual component is probably what added to helping us, both maintain our sanity during that first couple of years.
Coach Manuel was even taking the spiritual approach and poured it into his own players.
Like, if it weren't for basketball, I just go spiritual. No. He was going to touch you regardless what direction you went.
I know that. I'm just telling you. I just
want to make sure you know that. You can go bowling all if you want. He's going to find a way.
I can do what Mark is doing anyway.
I have a relationship first of all, he's my coach. Second of all, he's
he's a mentor, and he's also a spiritually strong man that I can, you know, lean on, rely on, and also learn from, because he has a lot of wisdom with experience.
Yeah.
So I can ask him questions, and he gives me well-rounded answers that make me think of the problem differently.
Yeah.
Midway through the season, when I walked into the locker room, he was in the video room, and he asked me to sit down. I sat down, and we started talking about faith because he wanted to kind of know me a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I was able to display how much faith held an important role in my life. And he had the same, like, the way he was talking meshed well with me because he had the same goal in life. His faith led his decisions.
Yeah.
So we were able to talk about, like, how faith was the cornerstone of how we lived life, and we meshed that way. That is always a coach you want to play for, because he's not looking for, oh, you're a product, I'm going to get the best out of you, and then when you're done, you go your way, and I go my way.
Yeah.
He was the person that wanted you to grow as a man, spiritually, emotionally, physically, academically, on the court, off the court. He wanted you to be the best person you could be all around, not just on the basketball court, because I think he knew if you were the best all around, it would translate to the basketball court. And if you were the best on the basketball court that you could be, it would translate off the court.
As I continue on my journey, on this path of greatness, I now can check one thing off my list. I became a Division I basketball player, and I'm still trying to become a pro. But if I ever become a coach, I now have a muse, Coach Jackie Manuel. He showed me that you're much more than your title. He's a husband, father, big brother, spiritual advisor, and coach. First, knowing what you know now,
Yeah.
knowing that you went through all that, you didn't make the NBA, you became a coach, you went through all these down times, you've had great ups. What would you tell that college sophomore when he got that opportunity, when he thought he got a new opportunity with new coaches? What would you tell that kid?
I would tell him the worst thing you can do is you can look too far ahead. You know, you're so caught up in chasing that you can miss the great moments that are around you, the everyday moments.
Yeah.
And I would tell him to work hard. Like, enjoy the moment. Don't try to figure out what's next. You know, if you enjoy the moment, if you work hard, next will take care of itself.